So this particular conversation we are about to have now is very important, and I want us to look at it holistically, away from who is the sitting president, away from all of the tribal, ethnic, and religious conversations we've had, and all of the challenges around us, assuming without any form of hitches or glitches that we want to salvage this country, we want to save the country, we want to redeem this country. That's why we are looking at this. Is on that particular premise that we are having this conversation. Now, this is very simple. Between tax reform and restructuring, which of these should a serious government take more seriously or take as priority? No, calm down. Knowing what you know about tax reforms and knowing what you know about restructuring, if you don't know any of these, then you may just have to sit back and allow us have this conversation. You can learn moving forward. Because I see the seriousness at which this government, and which of course is very laudable, is trying to reform our tax system so that we could have what every state put in, they could get something back or get more. It's not just enough to say you are a state as one of the states in the 36 states and the FCT, or you have a population, you have the size, but then you are not generating so much revenue. So the tax reform of the present administration is aimed at redistributing value based on the value you bring. But then I've asked myself, should this have been the priority, or restructuring should have been? Restructuring, we're talking about making Nigeria a federal state where we have federative units in under a central government. And that is what we have in places like the United States, of course, which we said we adopted their constitution, but adulterated it because of, like I said, we are not here to blame anybody, because of the peculiarity and the uniqueness of our brand. But I think we've grown enough to reconsider, should we rather restructure or reform our tax? Because you can't do both at the same time. Although one can lead to another, but the government of the day has prioritized tax reformation rather than restructuring. In fact, there was a document that leaked one time of a purported plan to have restructured the country. The federal government went on to deny knowledge of that document after it was hugely celebrated by Nigerians. And now the government now presented a tax reform idea led by a tax master, and then has now been put before the National Assembly, and public hearings are going on, and all of the, forget all of the noise, ignore all of the conversations. I'm asking, for a country like us, should we rather ask states to keep donating, or ask them to have powers for themselves to be able to do what they want to do, and take just a percentage to the central government to run very, very small foreign policy and all of the territorial integrity and all of the things that the central government should do, like it is done everywhere? Should we not focus on regionalization rather than taxation? It worries me. I personally, I thought restructuring, regionalization back to regional government would help the country more. Of course, I also recognize that there are many very dull governors. Many states are bereaved and bereft of inspirational leadership. But then it is on their own. That time the units will now begin to bother. Of course, there are some form of restructuring that this government is doing with all of the zonal commission, regional commission, but it's beyond that. The power is still at the center. At that time, with regionalization, with restructuring, you delineate, you remove, you lose a lot of powers and give to them. You lose a lot of privileges and give to them. you lose a lot of opportunities and give to them. So the federating units, whether they are states or they are regions, as we decide to be, will now have powers to rule, lead, raise revenue, and develop their unit at that time. And so the role of the central government would be quite minimal. But at the moment, we still need the central government to have all of the monies come back to it. And even though the central government now has a smaller piece, about 10%, left for them to run overhead and all of the things that they do, the powers are still there. So that's why I said it's a genuine conversation. We are not blaming, we are not blasting. Let's talk regional restructuring or tax reform.